going pretty well. And so it looks like it could work. But I'm hoping maybe in this next break, maybe I can start giving it a shot and we'll see what happens. So we'll see. All right, cool. So for this break session, figured I would kind of go over something that I came across and I thought was pretty cool. And maybe you can find some sort of use for it in your projects if you code. And so it's some CSS stuff. CSS is getting more and more powerful. It's kind of like just like, because I know there's stuff like Sass and Less and all those things, but like just CSS has been, seems to be pretty cool. And yeah, so I kind of wanted to show something that I came across and I was like, oh, could be helpful. You know what I'm saying? Could come in handy. Now, my method of like CSS and styling like websites is like a step above minimal. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times elements that I use, they're just like the regular styling. I figured if you're using a certain browser and you kind of used to how a thing looks, well, let's keep it the same, unless there's like an overall theme or something. But a lot of times I try to keep it as like bare bones and minimalist as possible, just to keep it clean. You know what I mean? And plus, I don't want to have to style stuff. So I came across this, and this seems handy because I've seen like CSS files that are like the selectors are like so many different selectors because there's such a variety of things that your application can consist of, and you want to try like style everything similar. And so came across this, seems pretty cool. Two things actually. And so all right, share my screen. I don't think I'm needing any audio. Okay, here we go. Let me share the audio just in case. But here it is. Now, the pseudo selector, it's like pseudo class. It uses like, I guess it's considered a CSS pseudo class. And a lot of times you could tell the pseudo class in CSS because they have like the colon in front of them. So like this colon is. So we're going to talk about is and where today. So the is CSS pseudo class function takes a selector list as its argument. So like all the different things that you're trying to target, right? And selects any element that can be selected by one of the selectors in the list. So you have like a list of stuff. So remember when I was saying like I've seen like all these different selectors. With this, you'll be able to kind of squash that a little bit. So we'll take a look at an example. So this is useful for writing large selectors in a more compact form. Exactly. All right. So for example, like this one, so this selects any paragraph inside a header, main, and or footer element that is being hovered, right? So is it a header, main, footer, and then is it a p tag being hovered on? Then you do the color red and put a cursor pointer, like a little hand. Now, previously, or another way of writing it would have been like header p hover, or colon hover, main space p colon hover, footer space p colon hover. You know what I mean? Like, so if you've ever written anything similar to this, you can now do it with like the colon is. Seems pretty cool. So now pseudo elements are not valid in the selector list for is. So you can't put like other pseudo selectors like nth child or anything like that, or like before and after. I don't think those work either. Cool. Well, then I guess there's older. So note that older browsers support this functionality as matches. So it's also, so if you notice up here, it's also called matches. So those look like older browsers may call it matches. And then like, and any, I believe also, but like newer ones, they kind of like put everything under is. Or through an older prefix pseudo class, any, including older versions of Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. So things you got to look out for. Any works in the same, in exactly the same way as matches and is. So just another way, except that it requires vendor prefixes and doesn't support complex selectors. So that's something to look out for. So for example, so like WebKit any. So that's for like Chrome, because Chrome uses WebKit. I think Safari uses WebKit. I don't know, but it's specific to like a vendor. like Chrome, Firefox, Safari. And yeah, so you see here, so here's the any. So WebKit any, Moz for Mozilla Firefox any, and then so that's same thing, and then same thing for matches, the previous one. So older browsers may do that. We're going to talk about where a little bit later, but where is similar, but like it says, it has a specificity value of 0, and we'll show that coming up. What that means. The next when you go into where, it kind of breaks down a difference. Actual gives you a difference, like an example. All right. So there's more stuff. So here, so it says like, yeah, you can't. I thought you couldn't put. So in CSS, when using a selector list, if any of the selectors are invalid, so like remember, you can't put pseudo selectors in the is. Then the whole list is deemed invalid. So where using is or where instead of the whole, when using is or where, instead of the whole list of selectors being deemed invalid, if one fails to parse, the incorrect or unsupported selector will be ignored and the others used, which is cool. So for is, so you can't use that, but will still parse correctly and match valid, even in browsers which don't support unsupported. So like other ones, like you'll just throw the whole thing out. Whereas if you're using is, it will, even if if it's valid, you're good to go. So like for example here, like this, then both are valid and unsupported are ignored because unsupported is not supported. So that's pretty cool. So if you're ever in doubt, you can always put like an is around it, looks like. All right, cross-browser examples. So this is just using the different kinds, so like the any, the matches, and the is. So I guess if you want to be able to reach the broadest, you can do that. Then they have match items, cool. So that's everything there. Oh, and then so check this out. So now simplifying list selectors. Remember, because is helps simplify everything. So if you're like CSS starts to look like this, you may want to consider looking into is or maybe where. And so you see all this here, right? Rows and rows and rows and rows. It's 3 deep, mind you, right? Or more. So you can do 3 deep or more unordered. So yeah, because are there some that are more than 3? I don't know, but it's saying 3 or more. So see all this here condensed down to this. So you can see like the OL. All right, is it OL? The other OL, is it OL here? And then is it UL? UL matches. So then it uses that. And so that's kind of a cool way. It almost reminds me of like mathematics, like when you like factored things into like its base and you're able to get all the different iterations based on that. Yeah, it kind of it's like the factorials. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty cool. And so like, yeah, so dir right there for that one. That's pretty cool. That's kind of awesome. So yeah, so if your code looks like that, then you can kind of break it down. And then simplifying section selectors, so same thing. So again, with all the section stuff, if your stuff looks like that, then you can pretty much break it down to just a few lines. So it's basically like factorials. I don't know if you're familiar with math. I think like how like if you have like 27, right? Then you can break that down to like 3 times 9, right? But you can also break down 9 to 3 times 3. So you have 3 times 3 times 3 kind of thing. At least to me, that's how it seems like. I don't know about y'all, but this is pretty cool. All right, and this breaks it down more. Pretty cool. And then you can see the browser compatibility. And it's, yeah. Well, Internet Explorer is pretty much not a thing anymore. So, yeah, it's pretty good across the board. So, just something you gotta check out. Now, we were talking about where. So where is another one. So the where CSS pseudo class function takes a selector list as its argument, just like the other one, like is, and selects any element that can be selected by one of the selectors in that list. So pretty much just like is. And so it goes through. So the same way. So you have the where. So it's almost the same thing. And you see how it breaks down, right? Now let's talk about. Oh, then we're talking about the forgiving thing. Now let's compare where and is, right? So you have this HTML. So it's an article, right? So it's a few articles. Inside the articles, we have the H2, a section, P tag, an aside, a P tag inside the aside, a footer, and a P tag inside of that, right? And it's the same thing going across all of them, right? Now, so we have two articles, similar stuff inside. All right. Now you can see the section, the class is styling, right? So the first one has like is styling to the classes, to the section, the aside, and the footer, right? The second one, similar, except it has where styling. So for the section, the side, and the footer. Okay, so that way you have the is and the where. So you can kind of compare them. Similar, everything's the same except the styling names, right? So here we go. So here is the CSS, right? So just regular overall HTML, but here we go. So is the section is styling, aside is styling, footing is styling, right? So that's the is to let you know, all right, this is what is going to target. And the same thing for where, with section.where styling, aside.where styling, footer.where styling. So you can see the color is going to be red. For the where is going to be orange. All right. Now check this out. Now, if you want to override the footer, right? Like the A tag in the footer, let's say you want to make it blue, right? Because before the colors are either red or orange. But let's say you want to make the actual link tag blue. So let's take a look at how this is going to work. So here's the is, and you can see, remember, that's red. So it turned all of these red. Now let's take a look at where. See, where did orange, but that last one, the footer, since it was overwritten by the footer A tag to make it blue, you see it turned blue. And so if you ever think you may want to overwrite certain things, be more specific, you can do where. But if you're like, no, nothing is going to change my styling or whatever, you can use is. That's what I'm getting from this. And so, yeah, so it's pretty awesome, pretty cool. And so if you're and then similar compatibility across browsers. So now if you ever come across, if your CSS is starting to look like those examples, you kind of know what to do. And so it's pretty cool. Yeah. So just a little thing I came across. I thought it could be helpful, maybe. At least now I know about it. And so if I ever come across some CSS that has all those different like specificities and all those different selectors, I could probably look at it and be like, can I do this as a factorial? You know what I mean? So I really hope that's the right math term. I'm pretty sure it's a factorial where you break it down like into its prime numbers. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah. So what do y'all think? Have you ever used is or where or anything like that? What do you think? Do you think you will ever use it? Let me know what you think, if you found that helpful. And yeah, so that's kind of like the things where I was saying as far as earlier with the show and tell. It's kind of like that. That's all. I thought it was cool. Wanted to talk about it. There we go. All right. So going to be out of here now. So again, thank y'all for hanging out. This is the second one, right? So we're going to play a song to get y'all out of here, back to work. And it's by one of my favorite producers, Nujabes, and another really dope artist by the name of Apani B. And the track is called Thank You. And yeah, get y'all back to work. We have one more break session. And if we don't have any show and tells, I'm going to go over an artist's website that we played on the radio show. And maybe you'll become a fan of them as well. All right. So cool. All right. So again, thank y'all for hanging out. Share my screen. And I'm going to be out of here. So much productivity to you. All right. Thanks again. See y'all later. Make sure I share the audio. Oh, almost forgot to hit the create a highlight video. That would have been bad. All right. Thanks, y'all. See you soon. Be easy. Here we go. All right. Thanks.
But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. But let me start from the heart. I just want to say I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me.